Okay, so the lesson I'm going to be presenting you guys today is finding definitions of arithmetic sequences given two terms. I'm first going to talk about what an arithmetic sequence is, just to kind of refresh our memories because I know I didn't remember what it was, and how to find or how to define an arithmetic sequence in general, and then go on to examples with two terms. So an arithmetic sequence is one where there's a sequence with consecutive terms, and between each of the consecutive terms, there exists a common difference. So between the first term and the second term, there's a difference that's the same between the second and the third term, and the third and the fourth, and so on. And that common difference is known as D when we get to the formula part of finding an arithmetic sequence. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be referring to as the common difference throughout the presentation. And what's different between an arithmetic sequence and a geometric sequence is that with an arithmetic sequence there is a common difference versus a common ratio, and it's a different value. So as I said before, a sub 2 minus a sub 1 is equal to a sub 3 minus a sub 2, and so on and so forth. So to write or define an arithmetic sequence, we first have to find what that difference, we have to determine if there is a common difference. So we have to determine if that sequence is arithmetic in the first place, and that, again, as I said, entails finding if there is a common difference between the values and the terms. And then you have to identify what that common difference is. And after you've done that, then you go into what a sub n is, and the formula will be later on in the presentation. But those are the three key steps to be able to define an arithmetic sequence. So I have an example here to demonstrate the procedure. So we are given a sequence here, and we have to determine whether the sequence, to be able to write an arithmetic, a formula for the sequence using a sub n, we need to first determine if the sequence is arithmetic. So between these numbers, we can tell that there's a difference of 13 within each of the two terms. Therefore, the sequence is arithmetic because there is that common difference between each of the terms. And that common difference is of 13. So that's what our D value is. And it's kind of, you can't really see it on this board, but when you find a sub n, which it's an important thing to, an important formula to remember, is that to find a sub n, you need to plug in the value for D, which is 13 in this case, and that is D times n plus C, where C is equal to a sub 1 minus the common difference. So where a sub 1 is the first term of the sequence. So here you plug in 13 and plus, and then a sub 1 would be 3 minus the common difference of 13 would be, so the end of the final arithmetic or formula for the arithmetic sequence would be a sub n. A sub n is equal to 13n minus 10, because that's 3 minus 13. So now I'm going to go into, if we're not given the full sequence in an example or in a problem, but we're given either the nth term plus the common difference or two different terms in a sequence. So if we're given the nth term and the common difference of a sequence, we first have to determine the number of steps between the nth number and a sub 1, and then you have to multiply the common difference that's given to you by the number of the steps that we've calculated before. So for example, if we're given the 8th term, so between the 8th term and the first term, which would be a sub 1, there are 7 steps. So you'd have to multiply 7 by the common difference given to you. And that resultant value would be, and then what you would do is subtract that value from the value of the nth term, or in this case, the 8th term. And that resultant value would give you what the value is for a sub 1. And then you can plug that in to be able to use it in the formula for defining an arithmetic sequence. And so you put in the common difference, which is given to you, times n plus c, which again is equal to a sub 1 minus d. And a sub 1 would be the value you've calculated minus the common difference. However, if we're given 2 different terms, for example, the 5th term and the 8th term, what we need to do is determine the number of steps between those 2 values. So in this case, there's 3 steps. And you have to determine the numerical value or difference between the 2 values. So let's say that the 5th term is 25 and the 8th term is 40. So you need to determine that the numerical value, the difference between those 2 values is 15 in that case. And divide the values in step 2, the value acquired in step 2 by the value in step 1. So 15 divided by 13 would give you the common difference of 5. And you would use this and the previous knowledge from this example to be able to determine what the arithmetic sequence for that for those 2 given terms would be. And I'm going to show examples because that's so, for example, if we're giving an arithmetic sequence in which the common difference is 15 and the 8th term of the sequence is 85, we'd have to determine that between the 8th term and the 1st term there's 7 steps. And what we do is multiply the seven steps by the common difference, which is 105. And then what we would do is subtract this value from the nth term, which is the 8th term of the sequence, negative 20. And negative 20 would be what our value would be for a sub 1. So then what we do is we put the common difference value in d again, so 15 times n plus c, and c again is a sub 1, negative 20, minus 15, which is d, the difference. And then that would be your resultant arithmetic sequence for the formula for your arithmetic sequence. So then if we're given 2 terms, for example, the 4th term is 16 and the 22nd term is 70, what you do is determine the number of steps. So again, between the 4th and the 22nd, there's 18 terms or steps in between them. And what you do afterwards is determine the numerical value between the 2 values. So between 16 and 70, there's 54. So 54 would be the numerical value difference, and we divide that value by 18, which is the first step that we required. And once we've used that, we can plug that in and use 3, because we know that that's now our common difference, and put that in as n. And then we need to find out a sub 1 minus 3. And a sub 1, what we do is, so what we do is between the 4th term and the 1st term, there's 3 steps. And that, right? 3 steps. That's wrong. Okay, and what would multiply would be 3 times 3, which would be 9. So 16 minus 9, because that's what the value for the 4th term was. And that's how we find a sub 1 minus, or plus 3, sorry, or no, minus 3, sorry. And that would give you the resultant arithmetic sequence. And so yeah, then you guys can follow along.